So once again, thank you so much for joining us today, Judith. A little bit about her background. Judith is the founder of Loving Hands Group, and Loving Hands Yoga and Reiki provides holistic healing services for people from age 3 to 103 at all levels of ability. She works with individuals as well as groups, lectures at major businesses and universities throughout Ohio on various topics related to wellness and positive living. Her award-winning work has been featured on television and radio, as well as in major newspapers and magazines. Judith is a certified yoga instructor and Reiki Master Teacher. She likes to say that she provides healing arts for happy hearts. I love that. Thank you so much, Judith.
Thank you. And thank you for the invitation, and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for sharing part of your day with me. So our program today combines some basic exercise stretching and some basic gentle yoga stretches to give you a program that you can do anytime during the day. So it's called coffee break stretching, but not a lot of us take coffee breaks anymore. Not a lot of us even take lunch breaks anymore. So this is something that you can do at any time when you feel like you need a break from doing this at the computer, or if you're on your phone a lot, calling customers during the day, things like that. So there's been a lot of research about repetitive motion, and that repetitive motion is something that we need to balance in order not to stress out our muscles and our joints and our eyes and our energy during the course of a day. So a lot of what we do now that a lot of us work on computers is repetitive motion. So by breaking up your day, by taking a break every so often, and the studies are different as far as how often it's recommended to take a break, but in general, about every hour and a half to 2 hours at the most, it's really good to take a break.
Let me mute. Hang on. Sorry.
I didn't know if you
Sorry,
have
there
one.
could be some background noise. So if everybody could mute themselves, that would be awesome. Thank you. So about every hour and a half to 2 hours, you want to take a break from that repetitive motion and stretch your muscles and joints in different ways. Give your eyes a break from what you've been looking at. And also it renews your energy and gives you just more energy for the rest of your day. While I'm thinking of it, it's also a good advice for if anybody's taking any road trips this summer. You want to do that about every hour and a half to 2 hours. See if you can find a rest area, pull over and do these stretches. Don't care what other people think, just stand outside your car and do some stretches. So we are going to be sitting most of the time. A lot of these stretches can be done standing. I also want to mention that Famous Supply is going to have a couple of handouts for you after the program that are available to you, so that you don't have to try to memorize everything that I'm saying. So we'll have handouts on all of the stretches that we're doing. I'll have a handout for you on different breathing practices, and also some little tips about setting up your workstation at work, so as to try to help not, diminish the effects of those repetitive motions. So with that said, we're going to be mostly sitting today. If you're in a chair that has wheels on it, if you could possibly lock the wheels, or just be very careful as we do these movements. I don't want the chair sliding out from underneath of anybody. And so I'm also going to show you on a couple of them, I'll show you the standing options, but the handout will explain both sitting and standing. So you can do a combination of that. You don't necessarily have to do all of these stretches in the same order. You may not have time to do the whole range of these stretches. So you can pick and choose, just kind of tune in with your body and see, if you're feeling tightness somewhere, then those are the places that you would want to target if you have just a limited amount of time. So I would like to invite you, if it's comfortable for you, to scoot forward towards the front of your chair. When we do stretches with our legs, that it just helps our legs to have a little bit more motion. But if this doesn't work for you, for your lower back for any reason, please go ahead and sit back and get support from the back of the chair. And we're going to tune into now just our sitting posture. So this is called, in yoga, we call this mountain pose. And there's a lot of rhyme or reason to it. So we want our legs to be hip distance apart. Everybody's hips are different as far as width. So in general, you want your thighs to be coming straight out from your pelvis, and then your shins straight up and down. So in other words, ankles under knees, and feet parallel to each other. And these are just guidelines. This doesn't work for everybody for various reasons. So if it doesn't work for you, that's okay. This is just something we're working towards. And what this does is it helps to keep stress off of our joints and muscles while we're sitting. So pay attention to your sitting posture during the day at work. So let's build up from here. So pelvis, we want to make sure that the pelvis is neutral if possible. So I'm going to exaggerate, like if we rock the pelvis forward or backwards, we start to see what happens to the spine. Neutral pelvis, again, keeps the natural curves in our back. So our back naturally has 3 curves in a little bit inward at the back of the neck, a little bit inward at the lower back, and a little bit outward at the middle back. So we're trying as best we can to keep those natural curves. You know, if you're not careful, you're on the computer, next thing you know, you're doing this a lot. And it is harder. It takes attention to do this, and we have to use muscles to do this. Gravity takes over, and this is what happens. So that puts a lot of stress on your low back. If you have low back pain and you have not had an injury to your low back, it could be from posture. So neutral pelvis, going to lift up tall through the spine. See if you can imagine like as if you had a string in the top of your head and somebody was pulling that string. So this won't be the way that you're used to normally sitting. Like I said, it takes muscles to do this. And then ideally, we'd like the shoulders over the hips. Even with good posture, our shoulders tend to round forward a little bit. So just moving those shoulders back over the hips. So this is mountain pose. So pay attention to this as you're sitting during the day, as you're driving, as you're watching your tablet at night. You know, just watch your posture. Again, it's something you really just have to think about. So I'm just going to show you real quick when you're standing at any time, you want to think of these same principles. So legs hip distance apart, feet parallel, shoulders back and down, head up. That's the other thing. We do so much of this with our cell phones now. So be mindful of that. Try not to hear what other people think and see if you can put your phone up here when you use it. Again, you have to use more muscles to do that, which is why we always default to that. But that's a lot of stress on your neck. So we're in mountain pose now. We're going to start out with just doing some deep breathing. If you'd like to close your eyes, you can. The purpose of the breathing practice, so just breathe as deeply as you can down to the bottoms of your lungs at whatever pace works for you. You can breathe through your nose or your mouth, whichever is more comfortable. So keep doing that while I'm talking. So this type of breathing practice, we hear this word mindfulness a lot. Mindfulness is just about paying attention to what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're saying. So a mindfulness practice can bring in our thoughts now. You've been maybe rushing to get to work or rushing to get ready for this class. Maybe you've already had some interactions with clients today. So the deep breathing just brings you into this present moment. And open your eyes when you're ready. So that's a good calming practice. We're going to be doing an energizing breath in a moment. That's a good calming breath. So if you find yourself like irritated and agitated, whether it's during your workday or in your personal life, taking just 3 deep breaths scientifically calms our energy. So it releases dopamine, which is our relaxation hormone, and it helps you to. It doesn't change what's happening in your life, but it changes you. It calms you down. It helps you to come to the situation now from a place of more control and composure and strength rather than like a frenzied kind of victim feeling. So you just feel like you're more in control of yourself. So 3 deep breaths before you respond to somebody who just sent you a nasty email. Good thing to do. So we're going to do now an activating breath. So this one will help during if you do your coffee break stretching, if you're, maybe it's like that after lunch kind of tired period of time, like around 2 or 3 o'clock. So this is called Breath of Fire. and it warms our blood and it activates our energy. So what we're going to do, I'll describe it first, then I'll demonstrate, then we'll try it together. So in Breath of Fire, you take a deep inhalation, then you exhale halfway out, and then you do little quick inhales and little quick forceful exhales. So deep breath, halfway out, quick inhales with forceful exhales. So I'll show you a couple of them and then we'll try it together. You'll feel your abdominal muscles activating because that helps to force that air out. So that's another thing that makes it active. It helps to get your muscles going. So let's try that. I'm going to do 20 of them. Don't feel like you have to do all 20. If you feel like you need to stop beforehand, go ahead. But the invitation is 20 if you'd like to. So let's take a deep breath in. Halfway out. Relax. So you might feel that your energy is a little more activated just because of the quick and rapid use of the muscles, quick and rapid use of your lungs. So let's now start with our stretching. So this one, so we said that our basic seated pose, our foundational pose is called mountain pose. So this pose now is called flowing mountain pose. So bringing hands together at the center of the chest. We're going to take a breath in. Inhale up, reach as far as you can. Exhale, big circle around to the sides and back to the starting point. And we'll go through this a few times. So again, inhale up, exhale around. So keep going while I'm talking. So if you can continue your deep breathing through each of these, it does a couple things for you. First of all, it exercises your lungs. So it's possible to exercise your lungs just like a muscle. The more you practice deep breathing on a regular basis, the stronger your lungs can get. You can also get more stamina as well. Let's do one more time around, then we're going to change the direction. So really, really reach, really, 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 really reach and stretch, reach, reach, reach. Pretend you could reach the side walls. Now let's keep the arms down by the sides for a moment, and we're going to go in the other direction. So inhale up, bring the hands together above the head, and exhale down. So this one is starting to activate our shoulders, a little bit of elbows and wrists, a little bit of forearms. And then if we really, really, so there's a couple ways you can do it. You can just do this more passively without really active reaches. The passive movements work your joints. But if you also want to stretch your muscles, then you're going to do like really, really reaching, really, really stretching. You'll start to feel that activate your muscles. Let's do one more time. Inhale up and exhale down. Awesome. Let's keep the hands together here at the chest, and we're going to stretch out the forearms and work the wrists a little bit. So let's bring the hands a little bit away from the body, elbows up off the floor. We're going to rotate at the wrist. So we're just going to let the fingers fall forward and then let the fingers fall back towards you. So I usually exhale out on this one, inhale in. Again, doing that really nice deep breathing each time. And still remembering our mountain pose. So that, as we said, our foundational pose. So we still want to have that nice good posture, neutral pelvis throughout the coffee break stretching. And let's do one more pair. And back. Awesome. Relax the arms. That was a bit of work for the shoulders, so feel free to roll the shoulders back a few times. And then forward. Good. And let's work now on stretching out our neck, all the vertebrae of the neck, as well as the muscles surrounding the neck. So coming back to our nice tall mountain pose, we want to make sure that the shoulders are relaxed. And we're going to start with a breath in. And then on the exhale, we're going to turn the head to your right. Inhale back to center. And exhale left. So on all of these stretches that we're doing, you never want anything to cause pain. So if it does cause pain, please back off a little bit, back off a lot, stop altogether. When you're doing this on your own, you can go to a different stretch. In stretching, there's no such thing as no pain, no gain. We say no pain, no pain. It just means that something's going on that we need to be respectful of. So just do what you can. There's never any contest in how far you can reach or stretch or twist or bend. Just do what's best for you, and that's what's best for you. Let's come back to the center. And now keeping our shoulders level, so shoulders and everything down is not going to move, just the head's going to move. And keeping the nose pointing straight forward, we're just going to tilt the head to the right. So just bringing the right ear towards the right shoulder. Back up. And then to the left. So this is a pretty small move since we're keeping the shoulders steady. You're just bending over maybe just a couple of inches. But if you let your shoulders really relax towards the floor, you'll feel a really good stretch along the side of the neck and the top of the shoulder. So inhale through the middle, exhale as we bend. That's the general rule of thumb on the stretches. Whenever you're bending or twisting, that's when you exhale. And when you're coming back to neutral is when you inhale. So these can be slow so that you can get full deep breaths each time. Let's do one more to each side. You may also find a lot of stretches are two-sided stretches. You do one side of the body and then the other. Let's come back to center. And so you may find that you're different on each side. You may be looser on one side than the other. You may have pain on one side and then you don't on the other. So that's fine. You don't have to force yourself to match or do the same number of repetitions. What you do want to do is, if you are in any pain, or let's say you're recovering from some kind of injury or maybe a surgery, what you want to do is keep moving everything that you can, avoid the places that hurt, but keep moving everything that you can, because you don't want to create any further issues by babying everything. You definitely need to baby the area where you're having issues, but you want to keep everything else moving. So let's do one more neck stretch. We're going to stretch the front and back, the throat and the back of the neck. So this one, we're going to be lifting up, but we want to be careful about not crunching the back of the neck. So if you can think about kind of with lifting up and out, like think of like a turtle coming out of a shell or like a lizard. So kind of coming forward and up. So you're going to lift your chin a little bit, maybe looking at the line where the wall meets the ceiling. And then keeping the shoulders back, we're going to look straight down at the floor. So inhale up and out. And exhale down to the floor. So if you look up too far on this one, like if you look straight up towards the ceiling, you'll feel that on the back of your neck. So if you feel that, any kind of pain there, that just means you've looked up a little too far. Just back off a little bit. So we're keeping our shoulders back, our spine tall, and just moving the head. Let's do one more set. And we'll come back to neutral. Awesome. So we're kind of working our way down, stretching everything. So this next exercise is called moon salutations. This comes from yoga. It's a nice yoga stretch that helps to stretch the upper part of the body all the way down to the hips. So we're going to start with the right arm. Couple of options depending on how your shoulder's feeling today. If it's uncomfortable to raise the arm, you can do just the shoulder. You can also, on any of these stretches where we're lifting up, you can lift forward if that works better for you. You know, sometimes we just have shoulder injuries or shoulder pain, so modify as needed. So we're going to start with your right arm, and we're going to inhale up towards the moon. These are our moon salutations, saluting the moon. Exhale down. We're going to go from side to side. So your left arm this time, inhaling up. Exhaling down. So keep going side to side, big breaths each time. And then just remember that it's up to you. You can make these reaches as active or as passive as you'd like to. If you're just running your arm through the motions, that will work your joints. If you feel like you want to wake up and stretch your muscles, then you want to really reach, really stretch as far as you can. And let's do one more of these on each side. Now we're going to stretch out the side of the body. So we'll start with the right arm like before. So we'll lift up, and then we're going to bend over to your left. Just a little small bend. Back up towards the moon and down. So we'll go side to side. Inhale up. Exhale over. Bring the arm over the head. Inhale back up. Exhale down. So again, just pace yourself. Everybody's lung capacity is different, so just pace yourself to get a big breath in, big breath out, big breath back in, and big breath out. And let's do one more and see if you can make sure that you're doing this as like a crunch. You're crunching this side rather than leaning over. Can you see the difference with that? You just get more of a stretch to the side if you make it more of a crunch than a lean. So let's try one more time on this side. Little crunch over. You'll get a lot more stretch here. Back up and down. Awesome. So we're going to engage more of the abdominal and back muscles with this one. We're going to do the same thing we just did, and we're going to circle around down towards the floor. As we do that, see if you can keep your mountain pose posture. So as we're leaning forward and around, we want to keep those natural curves in our spine rather than doing that. So let's try this together. So right arm, we're going to inhale up, exhale, same little bend over. And then leaning from the hips, come forward, bring that arm down around in front of you, back over to your right, back up to the moon, and down. Awesome. So left side, inhale up, bend over, keeping our back straight, sweep around, all the way back up and down. So breathing on this one is inhale up, exhale over and around. Inhale back up, exhale down. Good. So another benefit of taking a coffee break stretch every once in a while, besides just physical benefits for your body, it's a good little mental health break. It just gets you thinking about other things, taking a little break from tasks, and it helps you then to be more productive when you go back to those tasks and to feel like you have more energy and more enthusiasm as well. And back down. Awesome. Okay, so we're working our way down. Let's do a couple more exercises for the chest and the arms. So there's an exercise called chest expansion. We were talking earlier about posture, how we really have to be mindful of our posture so that gravity doesn't take over and we end up like this. And what can happen if we're not careful about that, if you've ever seen real elderly people who now they just walk, their back is just naturally curved like that. So what happens is as we do that, as we make more of a habit of this, this action shortens our chest muscles. These are called our pectoral muscles. These muscles naturally shorten, and then it can be very difficult to even stretch them out for good posture when we want to. So the regular practice of exercising and stretching these pectoral muscles is really good for continued posture throughout our lives. So this chest expansion stretch is a good one for that. So this one, we're basically going to be sweeping our arms around. What I would like you to be mindful of is the pelvis. It's really tempting for the pelvis to dump forward like this. So I actually contract my ab muscles a little bit before I do this. That tends to kind of create like a girdle, for lack of a better word, that holds your pelvis in place. So with a neutral pelvis to start with, we're going to bring both arms up parallel to the floor. Then we're going to turn the backs of the hands facing each other. Start with a big breath in. Then exhale, we're going to sweep around, bring those arms back behind us. And we're going to hold this. So you're bringing the palms of your hands towards each other. Again, trying not to let that pelvis come forward, neutral pelvis. You kind of have to check in with that often. And we're just holding. So this is a nice static stretch for that chest. If this is too tough on the shoulders or arms, what you can do is like release it a little bit and then go back. Do more of a moving stretch with it. So either one of those is fine. And let's release, roll the shoulders. And we're going to do that one more time. So arms up, backs of the hands together. The reason we start with backs of the hands together is so that the palms are facing each other when we go behind us. Breath in, exhale, big stretch. Checking in with the pelvis, and we'll hold. Deep breaths. So you'll notice that with this stretch and in all of the stretches that you're doing, you'll be stretching some muscles, but you'll also be contracting other muscles. So you get a little bit of strengthening and muscle toning work at the same time that you're stretching. So right now we're stretching the chest, but you can feel your upper back is doing some work. Your arms are doing some work as well. And let's release. So again, if it feels like too much work, then you can do that more of a flowing approach to that. So this is one of my favorite stretches. I love it. It's a tricep stretch and a shoulder stretch. And just with all the computer and mouse work we do, we tend to carry a lot of tension up through this area of our body. So those neck stretches we were doing are really good for that. And this tricep stretch is also very good for that. So this is a little bit like the game of Twister. So let's start with your right arm across your body. And then you're going to take your left hand, scoop underneath, and hold on to your arm. This arm, try to keep your right arm straight, just loose. It's not doing anything. And then you want to hold on to the muscle. So you don't want to be on the shoulder. You don't want to be on the elbow. You want to be in between. So if you just let this arm be real heavy and loose, then you can kind of play around with this hand. You can bring the arm a little bit more towards you. You might maybe roll up or down a little bit. So what you're trying to do is just feel for a nice stretch through the shoulder. And this is your tricep muscle on the outside of your arm. So we're just going to hold this. Again, be mindful of your mountain pose posture, sitting up nice and tall. Just hold, stretch, and breathe some deep breaths. And let's release, and we'll do the other side. So now your left arm across, right hand scoops underneath, hold on to the muscle, draw that arm in towards you, hold and breathe. Awesome. I'm going to show you another stretch that does that same thing. It's just a little bit different way to look at it and do it. And sometimes this, for whatever reason, this this posture just doesn't work for people. So there's another way to stretch that muscle, and this is called thread the needle pose. So if you take your right hand, just place it on the top of your thigh, you could kind of hang on to the knee. You want to create, this will look like the eye of a needle, like a sewing needle here. Then your left arm is going to be the thread. So you're going to turn your hand with the palm facing up and thread the needle. So bring the thread through the needle. Then you're going to begin to bend the eye of your needle. So bend your right arm so that you can come forward. And then you want to place your thread or your left arm, so your palm is facing up, your elbow is on your thigh, and then I'm going to exaggerate a little bit, but by like twisting your torso now to your left, that will stretch that shoulder a little bit. So kind of push your thread into your right thigh. And then come on back up, and then we can try that on the other side. So now your left hand will be the eye of the needle, and your right hand will be the thread. So palm up, putting that thread through the needle, leaning forward, resting that right arm on that thigh, and then you're going to twist with your upper body a little bit to your right. Awesome, and come on back up. So that's your plan B if this one doesn't work for you, or if you just want to break and do something different, that one works. Okay, so let's work now with hip joints. So we all do a lot of sitting during the day. Our lower, we do a lot more movement with the upper part of our body during our day than we do with the lower part of our body. So we definitely want to stretch out our hips down. So with this one, we are going to, if you're in a chair with arms, this might be a little tougher. Ideally, chairs without arms work best, but we don't always have that choice at work. So that's why scooting forward to the front of the chair can help. So even if you have a chair with arms, you can still open your legs at least a little bit to the side. What we want to do is keep that same good mountain pose alignment. So we still want the ankles under the knees. So I'm going to exaggerate. We don't want our feet tucked under here or out here. We want thighs straight out and shins straight up and down. And then this one, we're going to, just like we did in our moon salutations, we're going to be making circles with our torso. So we can place the hands on the tops of our thighs for support. Lift up nice and tall, get that good spine again, like that string, someone pulling up on that string. And we're gonna lean over to your right. And then we're just gonna make a circle down towards the floor, over to your left, come back up. And as you come up, see if you can go a little bit back behind you when you make the circle. So I guess it's probably, if you were looking from above, looking down, it's probably more of an oval than a circle, but you get the idea. So breathing on this one is inhale up, exhale down. So go at whatever pace works for you so that you can get those full deep breaths. You also may want to do this with your eyes open if they're not already, just in case this causes a little bit of dizziness. And also making sure that you're not holding your breath can help with any kind of dizziness. So inhaling up, exhaling down. So this is just gently massaging the hip joints where the leg bones meet the pelvis. And then when you're ready, we're going to switch directions. So come to a very slow stop, and then we're going to go around the other way. Inhaling up and exhaling down. And let's do one more circle or oval. We'll come on back up. Awesome. We can bring our legs back together. All the stretches that we've done so far, you can also do standing. So, you know, if you want to break from your chair and you want to get out of your chair and do exercises standing, I want to show you the standing version of the one we just did because it's just slightly different. So you would stand back in your mountain pose, again, with your legs hip distance apart. Get your nice posture. And actually this one, sorry, I misspoke. Our feet are going to be a little bit wider on this one. So about underneath the shoulders. And instead of feet being parallel, they could be a little bit out to the sides, hands on the hips. And then we're just going to circle it. So my yoga teacher used to call these Elvis hips. So do your best Elvis impersonation. Back in the day, this was the most scandalous thing that you could see on TV was this kind of movement by how things have changed. So we'll do a few more in this direction. And then when you're ready, we'll go the other way. Awesome. And let's have a seat back down. So we're going to stretch out our legs now. Again, if you can sit forward towards the front of your chair. This is the part where it's good if you don't have wheels on your chair. If you do, please be super careful about this. So we are going to bring one leg straight out in front of us and stretch out our calf and our shin. So we're going to, you can see right now my toes are pointing up. That stretches our calf. And then when you point the toe forward, it stretches the shin. So we're just going to go back and forth with this. And I usually inhale up, exhale forward, but on this one, either one is fine. There are a couple of reasons that we do the breathing. We mentioned that it exercises your lungs. It brings you into the present moment. But also combining the breath with the movement, like having certain times that you inhale and certain times that you exhale, helps to facilitate the movement and give like more power to it, or just help it to flow easier. That becomes especially more important if you do more active types of exercises, like, you know, anybody who does like weightlifting or yoga, it becomes more important when you do the more strenuous work. So let's do a couple more of these. And then bending the knee just a little bit, keeping the heel on the floor. We're going to do some circles with the ankles. If you want some sneaky ab work, we're all getting ready for bathing suit season, right? You can lift the leg up off the floor. You're using your abs to do that, and your thighs as well. So that's up to you. And let's go the other way with those circles. Awesome, back in. So we'll bring this leg back to our mountain pose, other leg straight out, and we'll do our point and flex. Inhaling and exhaling. And then when you're ready, we'll bend the knee a little bit, do some circles on this side. Good, and the other way. And let's leave this leg out here for a moment. We're going to do a yoga stretch called Cradle the Baby. This is one of my favorite stretches. It stretches the outer hips, and these are really hard muscles to target for stretching. So this is a really good one that does that. There's a setup for this, because when we're doing, whether it's in our exercise, our stretching practice, whether it's in anything else in life, we always want to honor where we are with our body, with our movement. You know, we may have slept on our shoulder the wrong way the night before. We may have actually had an injury, or or an operation or things like that. And as we age as well, things change. So what a really good principle to remember is just to honor where you are. We always have goals. We want to do our best. We want to push ourselves a little bit, but we never want to push ourselves past any point that really is not healthy for us. Because what happens then is that we can then injure ourselves, and then maybe we just don't go back to our healthy practices. So with this coffee break stretching or anything else that you do, just remember that. And so this is like a little demo for that, because there are 3 different options with Cradle to Baby, and not all 3 options work for everybody. So you want to choose the one that gives you a stretch without pain. So with our left leg extended, we're going to cross the right leg over the top. So just like you're hanging out. Then you want to bring the top leg up to just below the knee. If you feel pressure on the knee, you've gone too far, so go just below. So the top calf is going to be on top of the lower shin. And then if you just let your hip joint rotate and let that knee fall open to the side, you'll feel a little gentle stretch right in the side of the hip. So this is option 1 for Cradle the Baby. Option 2 is to bend the lower leg and bring the upper leg on top. Again, checking and make sure that we have our proper alignment of that lower leg. So this will get you a little bit of a deeper stretch. You can actually lean forward a bit to get even more stretch if this works for you. And then option 3 for Cradle the Baby is to pretend like your lower leg is your baby and pick up your baby. Now, that does not work for everybody. So never force yourself outside of safety in order to keep up with the Joneses. You do not need to keep up with the Joneses. So choose the option that works for you. This one works for a lot of people. This one also is great. So it's where we have to use our humility, laugh at ourselves a little bit, and do what's best for us to stay safe. And then we'll do the other side when you're ready. So top leg goes straight out. And as we mentioned earlier, you may be different on both sides. So what works on one side may not work on the other. So option 1 is just below the knee, rotating out at the hip, holding this. Option 2, bending the lower knee, even leaning forward a little bit. And then option 3, if you want to pick up your baby and cradle your baby, you can do that. Couple more deep breaths. Awesome. And let's come back to our mountain pose. And we are going to do a spinal twist now. So this is another really good thing if you sit a lot during the day, because our spine doesn't do much moving. So twisting it from side to side really helps us with mobility and flexibility, not just of the spine, but the muscles all around the spine. And anytime you do any kind of twist, you really want to have that nice, good posture first. So pulling that string up towards the ceiling. And we're going to do a flowing twist first, and then I'll show you a holding option as well. So let's bring both of our arms up parallel to the floor. And with that said, if this does not work for your shoulders, you can keep your hands on your thighs. That's fine. So both hands up. We're going to take a breath in. Exhale, we're going to go to your right, bringing the right arm around, and we're going to turn the head, follow the thumb with your eyes, go as far as is comfortable without pain, and then back to the middle, back to neutral. And let's go to the other side now. So breathing with this one is exhaling on the twist, inhaling back to neutral. So you set your speed based on your breathing. So by following the thumb with your eyes, now you're twisting your whole spine from bottom to top, from pelvis to the neck. Let's do one more on each side, and then I'll show you the other option. Awesome. Back to center. Let's bring the arms down, roll the shoulders a little bit. That was a lot of shoulder work. So the other option is to hold the stretch for 3 deep breaths on each side. So we'll be twisting around, and depending on what kind of chair you're in, you can hang on to the arm of the chair, or maybe the back or the top of the chair, and then you're going to hold for 3 breaths. So let's start with a breath in. Exhale, we're going to turn to your right. So I like to keep left hand on the knee and then turn and hang on to the chair wherever it works. You want to turn all the way around. See if you can look over your shoulder and then hold for 3 deep breaths. And after your breath, release back to the center. Take a breath in. And then we'll go to the other side and hold for 3. Hanging onto the chair tends to get you a little deeper stretch than the way that we were doing it with the arms out. So just something to notice that may or may not be comfortable for you. Let's do 1 more to each side. And release, and 1 more. This one feels great after you've been sitting for a long time in front of a computer. Awesome. And back to center. Yay. All right, 1 more spinal stretch, and this one is going to, so we've been twisting the spine, we've been bending side to side, now we're going to bend forward and backward. So this is one stretch where you do have permission to have bad posture, to let the spine do this and that. So we're doing this on purpose in order to move our spine in the forward and backward motion. So this is a yoga stretch called the cat and the cow pose. So with cat, we're thinking about like a fraidy cat at Halloween. You know how they arch their back like that, really extreme arch. And then like a cow, an old cow or a donkey standing out in the pasture, their back tends to look like this. So concave and convex, as we learned in math class. So we're going to start with cat pose. So we're coming back to our seated mountain pose with hands on the thighs. And now we're going to let the top of the pelvis tilt back. As that happens, you see what happens. The spine starts to curve forward. And then we're going to accent that by bringing our shoulders forward and tucking our head underneath. So think about that fraidy cat at Halloween. Arch your back as much as you can. And then we're going to come up for cow pose. Cow pose, we're pushing the pelvis forward. And then we add the shoulders, kind of doing like that chest expansion that we did earlier. Lift up the head a little bit, squeeze those shoulder blades together in the back. And then we're going to go down and up. So down through cat, we exhale down into cat. Inhale up into cow. And again, go at your own pace with this as far as you're breathing. Exhale down to cat. Inhale up. This is a really good stretch to do in the morning. Also, when you first wake up, it just kind of gets everything moving around, gets your digestion going, gets your heart rate up a little bit. And come on up. And let's come on back up to neutral. Awesome. So I am going to show you another breathing practice. This is a more calming breathing practice. So after you do your coffee break stretching routine, just to get your mind back focused again, you might choose to do a calming breath. Like I said, you're going to have a handout that has several different breathing practices on it. So you can choose whichever ones seem to work for you. So this one is called equal ratio breathing. So we are going to start just by closing our eyes and just do your natural breathing. Just start to pay attention to your natural breath. Don't force it to do anything. Just where is it right now? And then with equal ratio breathing, what we're going to try to do is try to make the length of our inhalation match the length of our exhalation. So we're going to do more deeper breathing. So you probably noticed that your normal breathing is more shallow than the deep breathing that we have been doing through class. And that's just kind of the way our bodies are designed. But that's another good reason to practice the deep breathing that we've been learning today. It helps, like I said, to expand the lungs, strengthen the lungs, but it also helps to kind of flush out the bottoms of the lungs, clean things out, and taking in more oxygen. So when we breathe, that's what creates blood. So by deep breathing, we're creating new, fresh blood supplies for our organs. So very, very healthy. So we are going to silently to ourselves, we're going to count our inhalation and count our exhalation. So the number of 5 works for me. So I inhale for a count of 5, exhale for a count of 5. And it's a slow count because we're doing our deep breaths again. So you might start with 5 and then see that may or may not work for you. You could go down to 4, you could go up to 6. Just find the number that works for you. It may take a cycle or 2 to find that number. And then see if you can breathe in for that 5 and then breathe out for 5. And let's do a few rounds of that. So you can close your eyes again if you would like to. So go ahead and finish out the cycle that you're in, come to an exhale, and then back to your normal breathing. So we mentioned that stretching is good not only for our bodies, but when we do these breathing practices, it also helps with our energy and our mental focus. It's actually a type of meditation. And so congratulations, you just meditated probably without even knowing it. So meditation, just the word meditation sometimes freaks people out. We're like, oh my God, how am I going to completely quiet my mind? I can't do that. I have so much I'm thinking about. So meditation in its purest sense is eliminating thoughts from our minds. However, it takes years of practice to get there. And there are people who are fortunate to be able to have lots and lots of time to do that. So people like, monks and priests and rabbis and people who live in supportive environments where they do meditate as a group for hours and hours a day. But for the rest of us who have jobs and traffic and kids and grocery things and laundry, what meditation is really about, it's very, very simple when you break it down. It's about choosing to place our attention on something other than our thoughts. Choosing to place our attention on something other than our thoughts. And that can be anything. So meditation can be anything. It can be counting to 5 in and counting to 5 out. It can be, listening to some calming music without letting our minds wander. It can be studying the pattern on the carpet on the floor. It can be anything. And then what's going to happen is your mind's going to wander, and your mind's going to wander 45 times in just a few minutes. That doesn't mean you can't meditate, because again, it's the choice. It's choosing to place our attention on something other than our thoughts. So the key that helps your mental health with this is realizing what your mind is doing, first of all, remembering that you have a choice, and then making the choice to come back to your meditation, whether it's the breathing, whether it's the carpet, whatever it is. So if you can do that for 5 minutes a day, do it for 5 minutes a day. You don't have to spend an hour doing that. The more helps, the more you can help. But if you only have 5 minutes a day, do that. What it does, the magic is then out in your rest of your life, you start to become mindful of what your mind does. Our mind has a mind of its own sometimes, right? And so we have to remind ourselves that, you know what, just because somebody tried to engage me in an argument, I don't have to get drawn in. I can make a choice. I'm realizing what my mind wants to do and going, all right, maybe I do need to engage in that, but you know what? Maybe I don't. Something doesn't go as planned. I could, if I want to, get real upset about that, but you know what? That's what I normally do. Is that what I want to do? Make a choice. So it just helps you to come from, again, more of a position of authority rather than a position of victim. So it's wonderful, wonderful for our mental health practice of the day. So we have a few minutes left. So one of the other handouts that you're going to get is how to set up your workstation to be as body friendly as you can. And basically it's staying in mountain pose as much as possible. So I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see. So you want to, at your workstation, have a chair that lets your thighs be parallel to the floor. So some of us have chairs that can go up and down. So check in with that. If your chair is too tall and you can't adjust it, then you can put some things under your feet so that your thighs are parallel to the floor, shins straight up and down. Try to keep your posture. So your keyboard should be here, not up here, not down here. Same thing with your mouse. You want to be able to keep your shoulders level. Mouse right here, not up here, down here. You want your monitor to be so that you can keep your head straight ahead. You're not like looking up or down. So just remember mountain pose when you're in your workstation. And if you're lucky enough to be able to get those workstations, standing stations or those things that can telescope, that's great too. So, it along with taking your coffee break stretch every once in a while, you can change your desk from sitting to standing to also help to decrease any stress and strain on your muscles and on your joints. So thank you all so very much for joining me today. I really hope this was helpful to you, and I wish you really good health. And thank you. And if anybody has questions, I think you can unmute yourself maybe. And my computer's way over there, so I can't see the chat if anybody is in chat. But maybe you could read to me.
Thank you so much, Judith. That was wonderful. I needed that stretch. It felt so good. And I think these are all things that we can replicate again, tomorrow, anytime that we're feeling tight. Because what you said about like slumping and like catching yourself hunching, I definitely catch myself doing that sometimes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm end up with a hunchback. I don't want that. So what you taught us was like dead on exactly what I think we all needed.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And what you said about meditation, I think that's such a funny thing because it is like something where like initially people were like, this is kind of weird, or like, I don't know about that. But, research has found that meditation increases the gray matter in your hippocampus in your brain so that you have increased memory. So it's not just this like mystical thing anymore. It's scientifically proven to increase your memory. So if you want to be more sharp, just this simple breathing, I think like the way you said it, it's not as intimidating as it might come off as, or it doesn't have to be. So thank you so much. That was wonderful. And yeah, Barb was just putting in there that, Judith is here with us from Impact Solutions, our EAP, and we have their phone number in the chat. If you ever need anything, they have tons of resources. They have the mental health care support, but they also have things like finding childcare support or financial support, all kinds of things. So any of those resources you guys ever need, you can reach out to them. But does anyone else have any questions for Judith?
I just want to say thank you. It was very, very relaxing. And I'm in an office full of people, so I know everybody was probably like, what is she doing? But I don't care because it's for me and my mental health.
Yes.
So thank you so
much.
Love
that.
There you go. So you're welcome. Thanks for coming.
All right. Well, I'm going to end the